Hi, welcome back to Tyne Valley Motorhomes. I'm Callum and this is the handover of a Chausson Flash 716. Starting the walk around on the driver's side of the vehicle first. If you open the driver's door, you'll be able to see your tyre pressures and tyre size for the vehicle in Bonnet PSI. So if you ever get a flat or soft tyre, you can inflate it to the tyre pressure as recommended. LPG, so liquid petroleum gas, and this is your habitation key, so this opens all your habitation locks, your habitation door, your garage and so on. So in here you can fit two 13 kilogram gas bottles or two 6s, whatever you prefer, but there is space for bigger bottles in here. So once you put the bottle in, there's straps, so always strap the bottle in, one across the top, one across the bottom, to make sure that it's safe. And then to connect the pigtail, it's a left hand thread, so opposite threads with it being gas connects the pigtail to the bottle, and then turn it on and off from the top. We always recommend that you turn it off before you do start traveling, because it's safer in case you were involved in any road accident when the gas is shut off. And then if you're carrying a spare, you can just take the pigtail off one and put on your full if you did get a empty bottle and it did run out. Habitation door again opens with this key, but you do have Fiamma safe locks, so this is just added security when you leave the vehicle unattended or parked on the drive or in storage. You can put this on, but don't put it on when traveling, as if you can't get out the cab, you want to be able to get out another door, which is this one here, and you can lock that and put the cap on. Two fridge vents, awning light and awning. External gas point, so if you're gonna buy yourself a Cadillac or an external barbecue external awning heater, instead of carrying another bottle to run off, you just connect to here, and this will run off the main gas supply from those bottles I've just shown you to here. So you will have to get yourself some bottles, because that's our test bottle, but you can connect with a bullfinch connection, get yourself some orange gas hosing and some Jubilee clips to connect everything up, and then you'll be able to power your Cadillac and cook outside on a lovely summer's evening. WC, this is your cassette toilet, so your chemical cassette toilet, and again same key, you can lock and unlock it. You want to ensure that the blade is in the closed position, because if it's not, the mechanism will be engaged, and when you go to lift the handle, it won't slide out. When you lift it, you want to slide the cassette free of the vehicle. Got a handle, so when it's heavy, you've got some wheels, you can drag it to the waste disposal point, which is normally behind or beside your toilet block. And to empty, take the grey cap off, press the button, allows a bit of air in, gives it a consistent flow, and tip the content of the cassette out. Once you've tipped it out, there's normally a tap, put some water in via here, give it a shake, give it a rinse, and rinse the cassette out. And then you want to put a cap full of either the green or the blue liquid into here, and it's good to go back into the vehicle. If you're using the tablets, you'd open here, put a pint of water in, followed by a sachet, which is in a plastic cellophane as a tablet, and you can take this off to give it a deep clean when you're storing it in the winter, ready for the next season. Behind the back driver's wheel, you've got your waste outlet, so this is anything that you've put down a plug hole goes into a separate holding tank. There's a lever here, so you just need to pull and it'll drain off the content in the cassette. I'll get this tube reattached for you. It just popped off there, but we'll get that like so. So normally you drive over a grid and deposit your wastewater, so this is anything like dishes water, showering water, cups of tea you've drained off, stuff like that. And you want to always make sure in the winter that it's completely drained down, because you wouldn't want that water to freeze. This point here is your external shower. So you can, again, bullfinch connection, but it's got a trigger gun on the end of the hose, and you can go from hot or cold, or you can do a mixed temperature to hose the dogs off, the kids, the boots, the bikes. But the hot water does have to have been on for them to be hot water, and you've only got 10 litres on the boiler of hot water at any one time. Solar panel charger, so it's telling you that it's got 13.8 volts in the battery. You've got your battery fuse, and you've got a light. Should the control panel be on inside, that light will work. Turn the turnbuckles and you'll be able to bring the beds down. In the top corner you do have a motor for your rear bunks, as they are electric drop downs. Infill cushions for your front bed makeup. Rafter bar for the awning for added support, but we'll show you the awning on day of collection. You've got a heating vent there, and you've got 12 volt and 240 volt here, so if you've got any items you want to charge up, you can put them in the garage. Access from the back door as well, followed by a reversing camera rear brake light. That's a rail there where you'd get a bike rack as it's been strengthened, and you get another one put on here if you want to put a bike rack, but it will be a high up bike rack, a wind down one. Reversing sensors on the back, as well as the reversing camera. And then coming down the passenger side of the vehicle, you've got your mains connection point, which is where you hook the vehicle up. So you get a hooker blade, lift the collar, expose the end, and then slide onto the vehicle. Always hook the vehicle up first, then the power source, as so you're never walking around with a live lead in your hand in case you're in the wet. You don't want you to be electrocuted. And then in here, this is called your Technibox locker. So this locker has your freshwater fill up in. So this is where you'd fill with fresh water. So go and buy yourself a hose, either a collapsible one or a normal hose with some hose pipe connections, as it's mainly just a brass tap on most sites. Pop your hose into there and fill until you're either happy you've got enough water on board, which you can see in the tank, on the control panel on board via a gauge, or wait until it either overflows and you know you've got enough water. But say you had a full tank of water and you're now ready to drive to your next site, which is 2 hours away, 3 hours away. You don't want to be pulling a full tank of water around with you if it's not necessarily viable to do so. So if you're going to another site, then you would just fill there, but you would want to leave 20 litres in here to use the toilet, stop off and have a cup of tea if you got bored of driving. You'd lift this little lever, open the tap and put the pump on, and you'll see it starts squirting out underneath. As soon as you open the tap inside, it'll drain from a full tank and leave a minimum of 20 litres on that tank. Take the nut off if you want to clean the tank out. And then you do have your onboard charger, 12 volt fuses, so carry some spares, and your main trips on mains electric. To get the extra 20 litres out, or if you're not bothered about this and you just want to drain it all out, you've got to get physically underneath the vehicle. And you'll see there, you just pull that off. This 15mm black fitting on that little blue tube. Pull that off and drain off the whole tank, and you'll want to do that in the winter to stop any water from freezing in the onboard water tank. Because again, that you don't want to cause any damage to that tank. When heating your water on gas, this cover must come off. If you're heating it on electric, it can stay on. When you're travelling, we advise you to put it back on, and when you wash the vehicle, again, put it back on. But to take it off, hand on the top, thumb in the middle, peel it off, put it in your passenger door pocket or in the garage, and then when you come to leave the site, just pop it back on. Diesel filler, which is capless, so you just push the diesel nozzle into there and fill with diesel fuel. And then underneath, because it's a new style diesel engine and now has to have AdBlue, it's got AdBlue. So this is between a 15 and 17 litre tank. It'll give you 5,000 mile on a full tank of AdBlue. At 4,000 mile you will get a 1,000 mile countdown. Simply top it up as soon as you can, Failing that, if you let the countdown run down to 0, the vehicle won't start. So go to the pumps and buy it. I think it's about 130, 140 a litre for AdBlue on the pumps. Or you can buy the drums and carry one in the garage with you and simply top it up. But you might only need to have to do this once a year, as 5,000 miles is normally the average mileage for a motorhome. Your engine batteries underneath the cab seat, drivers. Leisure batteries underneath this seat here, passenger seat. To turn the airbag off, you'd put the key in and turn it there if you're putting a child in the front passenger seat. And then to open the bonnet, you need to use the key, pop the key in the front, turn to your left, which is the driver's side, and then turn to pop the bonnet, and then to release the bonnet, turn to your right. And in here, you've got your screen wash, brake fluid, oil filler, power steering fluid, oil dipstick for checking your levels, an earth for giving or receiving a jump start off the engine hoist because the battery's underneath the driver's seat, and then you've got a positive terminal for giving or receiving a jump start, and then your coolant there as well. Weight plate 3.5 ton, 3.5 ton train weight. Build numbers on the bottom, so should you ever need any parts, quote that build number, which is the little one here, and we'll be able to get the right parts for you. Once on board the vehicle, this is your main 12 volt control panel. So this indicates that you're hooked up, which means you'll receive two 30 volt, and you can turn the panel on and off from the top left hand button, which illuminates green. And then you've got the other switches, so you've got your lights, so the interior light switch, so you must have this turned on to then operate all the individual switch for your lighting, as this is the master switch for your lights, and your table and your electric drop down beds. You've got your pump, which will pressurise your water through the taps, toilet and shower. If you didn't have this on, you'll not get a pressurised flow of water, nothing will come out of the taps, but do make sure that you've got enough water on board before you put your pump on. And then you've got your on light, which is the light on the outside of the vehicle here. These labels correspond with these buttons on the bottom. So you've got the first one, which is the one of the trailer, which is your leisure battery reading. And then you've got the one of the truck, which is your Ford engine battery reading. And then you've got your water. So it's the same, we've got just under a full tank of fresh water. When that orange band goes to red, it means that it's time to refill your water, and when this red band comes on the bottom one, it means that your waste is full, and you need to empty the waste by pulling the lever behind the back driver's wheel. And then you do have your Webasto diesel heating, so always make sure that you do have a quarter of a tank of diesel or more in the main tank, because they're on different levels from the engine intake to the Webasto intake. And then all you need to do is turn it on, put it on full blast for 3 to 5 minutes, just so it starts the combustion. And then once it's started its consumption and it started the combustion cycle, you can then adjust the temperature to what you want it to be inside the vehicle. To operate your fridge, which is a Thetford fridge, you turn on and off via this button here, and then to change the source you'd press this one here, but A stands for automatic energy selection, so it'll change for you. So at the minute we've got hookup on and we've got a gas bottle, but it's picked out the best source to use, which is 230 volt mains hookup. So this will now act as a household fridge. If I was to take the hookup out, it would switch over to gas, and then if I was to start the engine, it would switch over to the battery setting, which is a 12 volt feed from the engine battery, which keeps the temperature of the fridge the same as it was when you left. So if you've left a site and it's been on for a couple of days and it's chilled and your shopping's nice and fresh, and you're driving a few hours to your next site, then this will keep your shopping nice and fresh and at that same temperature. Or if you were pre-chilling the fridge on mains electric a few days before you went away, and then put the shopping in the night before, on automatic all you've got to do is unhook it and start the engine, it'll switch over. Or if you manually want to switch the energy source, then you just take the out, see its battery, it's failed with code 6, means it's not getting any 12 volts because it's not, because the engine's not running. Or you can switch over to gas. But please note that if you leave your gas on and you're on automatic and you can't find 12 volts because you've knocked the engine off, it's not finding 230 volt, but it will find gas if you've pulled up at a filling station. It's programmed to wait 10 minutes before lighting on gas. So what you need to do is you need to just manually put it on if you're wild camping onto the gas source. Got temperature this side, obviously put it on full when pre-chilling, and then just knock it down to 2 or 3 when you've got your shopping on board, because it can freeze the fridge. And then you've got your frame heater here, so it stops the doors from sticking when operating on the coldest setting. Last thing about the fridge is we always recommend when not using it that you take everything out and you give it a clean out, and then you'll want to leave the doors open. But on both handles, if you lift them up, you've got these little pins that you can pull forward. Pop the toggle into there, and what it'll do is it'll stop any mold and bacteria from growing in the fridge, as it'll allow air circulation in and out of the fridge and freezer box. Above the fridge you've got your Status Vision Plus 570 TV aerial. So at the back here you've got your amplifier. So on there's a min and a max on the little dial in the corner, which you can then boost the amplifier should you be struggling to get a signal, or should it be too strong you can lower the amplifier so it's not giving interruption. You'll see that you've got a green light, which means that it's got a good signal. If that was orange, you could then try and use the amplifier, and if it's red you will have to then adjust the aerial. So what you've got to do with the aerial is loosen the toggle, push the stem of the aerial up and out the roof of the van, and then you can use the toggle to direct it. But look where the other motorhomes and caravans are pointing on your sight, and then before you do start driving away you want to pull it back in as far as it'll come in and tighten the nut up so that the wind doesn't cause any damage to your aerial. And then behind you've got a slide out TV bracket, so pinch the back, slide it out, attach your telly on there. 12 volt tellies are better because you can use them while camping, Avtec's being the best one that they offer in the leisure industry. You've got a 12 volt 240 and an aerial socket there, but what you can do is you can pull this down and slide it right round so you can watch it in the back of the bunks, but always make sure that it is clipped in before you start driving, and that will secure the TV. In the kitchen area you've got 2 lit gas rings and then 1 electric hot plate, which is to the left hand side, which will only work when on 230 volts. You've got to be hooked up for that to work. Allow these all to cool down before you put the glass lid down, because if not, if you put it down when it's too warm, you may shatter the glass and it does go into 1,000 pieces, so do be careful. Light here with the toggle switch on the end, and then you do have underneath a grill pan, oven and grill. So you've got your oven, and above your grill. You may want to take these out when travelling or wrap them up, because it can cause a bit of vibration when on the road. Pan drawer underneath the oven, and then you do have some storage. Obviously there's the plug at the back for the electric hot plate side of the hob. Any problems with that, just pull the plug just to be safe. And you do have a gas isolation tap for the oven Again, any problems with that, shut the bottle off to be safe. These are mainly for when the vehicle is annually habitation serviced, to make sure that the gas is working to the right standards. And then you do have your cutlery drawer, 230-volt socket, switch for the back bunks, and then there'll be a ladder to go on the top one. Just make sure you take your pillars off all the drop down beds, and make sure that your duvets aren't too thick and you put no thick mattress toppers on, because it adds weight, and weight can sometimes trip the fuse. So just be careful with that. And obviously in the winter months when you're not using the vehicle, it's best that you leave the beds down so that they don't rub up against the ceiling and cause any condensation or marks on your ceiling. So just and it gives better ventilation for the top of the mattress. So you've got that switch at the back being for your back electric bunks, and then the switch at the front is for your front bed. So that'll come down all the way, but you do have to drop the table as well. So to drop the table, what you've got to do is, on the front here, if you just don't hold the key, hold the side here, you can adjust it, so push it over slightly and then drop this down. You can have it as a coffee table if it's too high, or a dining table if that's what you plan on using it for. But drop that down and then you'll be able to bring the bed down. You will have to remove the cushions off the side. Take the cushions off, just the backs. You can leave the bases on, just take the backrests off and that'll bring it down that little bit further for you. So that'll lie on top of the base cushions there, and as you can see, the bed is below waist height. So again, you can put a ladder on if you're going to keep it up higher, but you don't need to. You can just drop it down and use it. So heads that side, feet this side, as it's the longer width at the top and shorter at the bottom because of the door. At the back of the vehicle, you do have your back lounge, which this is a foldable table, so you can use it as a dining space or a separate space if you're putting grandkids, kids at the back and you want to sit at the front. So what you can do is, if you pull here, it releases the pins. So you do that both together at the same time. So pull it towards you and it'll fold the table down, and then there's a magnet at the bottom that sticks it to the bottom of there. Press and slide and you've got your wardrobe. So that's got your 5th belted seat back in, your silver screens, your 2 ladders, your own winding handle and your extra cushion for the lounge. To operate the toilet, you've got to make sure that the pump's on, and you'll be able to press the blue button at the back, which gives you fresh water flush from the freshwater tank. So flush the toilet first to lubricate the seal between the blade and the toilet, and then what you want to do is you want to use the grey lever, which is this lever here. So slide it away from you to your right to open the blade, and everything will then go into the cassette. Flush after use. If you're going to use any pink, if you've bought any pink with a blue, obviously this doesn't take the pink, but what you can do is you can put it into spray bottle and dilute it with some water. Spray the ball before you flush and it'll do the same job. It'll clean the ball and give a fragrant smell. And then you want to close the blade to the left, which will then allow you to get it out the side of the vehicle. Should this light come on under here, which is a diagram of the cassette, the light will come on to say that it's full and you'll be able to pull it out, because if it was to be opened, the mechanism still engaged for the cassette and it won't come out. So you'll know what you've done and you'll have to come in and slide the blade along to the closed position. Lights underneath the sink, and then you do have a toiletry cabinet, another toiletry cabinet, soap, 2 soap dishes, this is showing that your water system's working and that the water is getting to temperature there. It's starting to get warm. And then you do have hanging rail, fly screen on the skylight, and a blackout blind. But you can also open it, so if you unlock the lid, which is in this corner here, so unlock it, and then you can use the winder to wind and open skylight. But always make sure all your skylights and windows are closed before travelling, and then lock this lid as well. And you've got exactly the same on the shower, but the shower rail is more beneficial because you can hang wet towels, wet coats from there. You can hose them off if you've been caught covered in sand or anything. You can hose them off when walking the dog or out on the beach. Across from the toilet you do have your shower, so when travelling there's a strap to go on to keep your shower cubicle doors secure when on the road, so that's how they would go. Take them off when you use them. They are just magnetic, so just push them in, pull them out. Same skylight, blackout blind, fly screen and towel rail as in the washroom on the other side. And then when winterizing, we always recommend that you take this off, unscrew it from the head of the shower head from the hose, and put the hose, lie that down in the shower tray, and leave all your mixer taps throughout the vehicle open. So you'd open your shower tap in the middle just to eliminate any water that's in the pipelines behind or in the pipework, so nothing freezes and causes any damage. You've got a partition bedroom door here which comes across, as well as the washroom door that you can put that across as well, just to have a bit of privacy when you're using the toilet or getting ready. So to make the front bed up, what you need to do is you need to drop the table. Make sure you've pulled this out because this extends, and you've put the little cushion in that's in the wardrobe to make the seat longer. Drop the table down to its lowest. Pull the extension out and then pull the tabletop to about there. So position the table in the middle, and then you want to put your 2 infill cushions. That one there with the shaped cutout, and then the bigger one, the square one, just on there, like that. And there you have a double bed made up underneath the drop down bed. So it is a 6 berth, you can use it as 6, sleep 6, 2 there, 2 there, 2 in the bunks at the back, or if you were just using it as a 4 berth, you wouldn't need to make this up and you could bring the bed all the way down, shown in the previous clips. So to make the 5th travelling seat, you need to obviously slide this back in, remove that little section of base cushion, pop that back in the wardrobe, get this out the garage. There's a board here that swings on a hinge, so you need to just rests over the top, the backrest, and then this cushion needs to be turned round. So normally the bull nose, which is this, is at the front of the sofa. Turn it round on its side, and then there's a belt behind it, and you've got a backward facing fifth travelling belt. So behind the passenger seat in your lounge area of the motorhome, you do have your location of your Truma boiler. So your Truma boiler is back here. It holds 10 litres of water at any one time, and obviously when it's turned on it'll heat your water. When it's not, your water sits there cooled. In the winter you don't want to leave any water in there, because what will happen is, if we experience hard frost overnight or low temperatures, that water could freeze in the boiler and crack the cylinder head and cause a lot of damage to this boiler, which then wouldn't be covered under warranty, because frost damage isn't covered under warranty. It's a customer's responsibility to drain the vehicle off of all water. So you would drain this off by removing the false wooden panel here, which I've just taken out, which sits in here, and you'll see that there's a yellow drain valve. That yellow drain valve is lying down. That means the boiler can then hold 10 litres of hot water at any one time. What you need to do is you need to come in with no power on, no pump on, and just lift this up like so. You hear the pump kicking in, it's trying to replenish the water, but come in without the pump on. Lift it up and leave it stood up during the time that the vehicle is packed away in the winter and not in use. Open all the taps throughout the vehicle, drain off your wastewater outside, and take the bung off your freshwater pipe underneath the vehicle, so that all your fresh water drains off as well, so that you're eliminating any water that's on the vehicle has been drained off. Then when you come to reuse the motorhome in the spring, close the boiler into the position it's in now, put the bung on the end of the freshwater pipe and fill it up with a hose pipe, close the waste, shut your taps inside, assemble your shower head back together. Then once you've got a full tank of fresh water, come in and put the pump on and go at the cold side of the tap first. You'll get an automatic cold water pressurized feed, as it's coming direct from the freshwater tanks, direct from to the pump and to the tap. Turn it to the hot, it'll start coughing and spluttering, because it's then got to fill this up with 10 litres, so it's pushing all the air out until you get a free flow of water from the hot side. This is when you know that your system's primed. Do the one tap. Once you've done the one tap, it should take seconds for the other taps to work, but you will have to bleed the other taps through. And then just when I'm in here, you've got two fuses just here. These are your diesel heater with Basto fuses, so if it ever starts flashing and doesn't stay a solid green light, it means that there's a fault. Turn it off, pull those fuses out for approximately 30 seconds, then pop the fuses back in, and then start the heater back up, and it should fix your problem. But always make sure with the diesel heater you do have a quarter of a tank of diesel or more, because you can airlock the system if you have less and you're trying to make it work. But you can use the heater when on the road as well for your back passengers to keep them warm. But like I say, a quarter of a tank of diesel in the main tank or more for this heater to work effectively. On the fascia of the seat, which is where your boiler's behind, these are your controls for your hot water system. So you've got your hot water on gas and your hot water on electric. So going through the gas one first, you've got two settings. Obviously the cover needs to come off outside for this to work, because it needs to allow the fumes out, otherwise you'll get a red light on here which indicates that the cover's been left on, you haven't turned your gas on, or you've run out of gas. And you've got two settings, so off's in the middle, as you can see, 50 degrees of heating your water at the top and 70 degrees of heating your water at the bottom, and that'll heat that 10 litres of water to that temperature. That's more if you're wild camping, but if you were on a site you'd use the electric, so it'll say Truma boiler EL and have 230 volt at the bottom, which means it's the electric side of heating your water. Off in the middle, 1 kilowatt, which is 750 watts at the top, and 2 kilowatts at the bottom, which is 1500 watts. So it all depends on the ampage the site provides, whether it's 10, 14 or 16 amp would, if it was the bigger two, you can use 2 kilowatts. Just watch that you're not tripping the vehicle or tripping the site. If you're in desperate need of water, by all means you can use both together, so you can use on 70 and 2 kilowatts, and that should heat that 10 litres of water up within 5 minutes. So if you're in desperate need of a shower or hot water, you can use both. But don't waste your gas. If you're on a site, you've paid your electric fees to be on there, use their electric. So now in the cab, which is based on a Ford Transit Mark 8, you do have your handbrake, which is a folding handbrake down to the right hand side between the chair and the door. So you always need to pull it up, lift it higher till it tensions, press the button in and drop it, and you'll see that the handbrake light goes out as well. And then just lift it up and it'll be back on. You can lock and unlock the cab doors from here. You've got curtains to black the cab out on an evening, as well as those silver screens which are in the back wardrobe. Driver and passenger electric windows. Your mirror adjustment. So they fold in manually, you just got to push them in, but they do adjust the big glass section at the top. The smaller glass section is your blind spot mirror, which is manually adjustable. And then this is your light control, so you've got front and rear fog lights. Lights off, side lights, headlights, headlight adjustment. Indicators, or should I say wipers this side, indicators. This will go through your cluster, so you've got a digital speedometer, a range gauge of how much fuel's left in your tank, travelling time timer, instant usage per gallon, that'll work when you're running, average fuel consumption, average speed, and then it goes back to start. Cruise control, so it's the outer one, then up and down to set, speed up, slow down, press the minus. You can cancel it, you can resume it from here, or you can cancel it with a foot brake, and then you've got a limiter, so you can put limiter on and go up and down and set the limiter, and it goes up in 5 mile/h increments. So if you're in an average speed camera zone, you can pop the speed limiter on, and as long as you feather the throttle, it won't go over that until you floor the vehicle, and it'll override the speed limiter as a safety feature. And this side you've got your volume, your mode button for the stereo, so that'll skip between FM, AM, Bluetooth, and then obviously skipping your tracks and radio channels. Heated mirrors, 6-speed manual gearbox, lift the collar into reverse, it'll bring on the lines, and on this one it does have rear sensor, so you hear the beep. Take it out, obviously the lines will disappear, but you will still have the same view, so you can see out the back of the vehicle. 12 volt for charging, fan speed, recirculation button, temperature, aircon, and distribution where you want the air to be supplied to. Hazards, this will illuminate when you lock the doors, and then you do have your radio, so it doesn't take a CD, it takes USB, or if you press here there's a 3.5mm aux jack in the top, as well as a spare cigarette lighter socket, 12 volt. FM AM, press 1 to 6 to save, 1 to 9 to save your favourite radio stations. Auxiliaries, obviously Bluetooth audio if you connect via Bluetooth. Phone, you can press phone, you can see that's connected to my iPhone at the moment. Press menu and you can redial, answer and decline your calls, but to pair your phone you'd press phone. So if I was to disconnect from this, so it'll say no phone, so you press phone if you are pairing your device. Phone menu, it'll say add device, press OK, and you want to find Ford Bluetooth on your phone. Pair with it, press OK on here if the pins match, and then it'll ask you if you want to allow your contacts to be saved. Press allow and it'll start to download your phone book. Large glove box, and then to turn your seats round, there's a big bar to pull the seats back and forth, and there's a half bar. Slide that out and then the seat will turn round into the back, and that's the same with the drivers, so you can utilise the 2 driver and passenger seats to make your lounge at the front a bigger space.